I'm super stressed out and I make a dumb decision and I regret it.
After her father's tragic death, Brooke Hogan is coming forward with disturbing claims about what really went on behind closed doors. From manipulation to physical abuse, the things she says her father made her endure are nothing short of shocking. So what exactly did she reveal, and how will it reshape the Hogan legacy? Let's break it all down. Brooke Hogan's devastating revelations of family abuse. For years, the Hogan family appeared to be living the American dream. Through their hit reality show, Hogan Knows Best, which aired from 2005 to 2007, millions of viewers watched what seemed like a loving, unconventional family navigating the challenges of fame together. Hulk Hogan appeared to be the ultimate protective father, fiercely devoted to his children, Brooke and Nick, while Linda seemed like a supportive mother, balancing family life with the demands of celebrity. However, behind the cameras, a much darker reality was allegedly unfolding. A reality that Brooke Hogan, now 36 years old and a mother of twins, finally had the courage to expose in 2025 when she broke her silence about what she claims was years of systematic abuse at the hands of both her parents. The confirmation emerged when Linda Hogan posted an emotional Instagram video in March 2025, tearfully lamenting the state of their fractured family. In a moment of raw vulnerability, Linda revealed the shocking extent of their family's breakdown.
My family is in the worst mess. Brooke doesn't talk to us. She cut me out. I haven't talked to her for 7 years, almost 8 years.
Linda's emotional plea painted a picture of a mother desperate to understand why her daughter had completely cut her out of her life. She revealed that Brooke had gotten married and had twins without even informing her parents, leaving them to discover these life-changing moments through social media like strangers.
She's had twins. She got married. She didn't tell us. She had twins. She didn't tell us. She had a huge fight with Terry.
But Brooke's response to her mother's emotional video would shatter any remaining illusions about the Hogan family's dysfunction. In a lengthy Instagram post that sent shockwaves through social media, Brooke didn't just deny her mother's timeline. She provided evidence to refute it, sharing photos from a 2023 meeting that proved they had been in contact more recently than Linda claimed. More importantly, she used this moment to finally reveal the horrifying truth about what allegedly happened behind closed doors during her childhood and into her adult years. Brooke alleged that she experienced extremely verbal and mental abuse since childhood, which frequently turned physical. Even more shocking was her clarification about who was responsible for the abuse. She emphasized that it was not by the person you would assume, suggesting that much of the physical abuse came from Linda, not Hulk, a revelation that turned public perception on its head.
You can take it however you want to. It is what it is.
The abuse, according to Brooke, wasn't limited to physical violence during her childhood. She described a pattern of psychological manipulation that continued well into adulthood through what she called berating vile text messages and public reamings with unbelievably hurtful words. She explained how this treatment systematically eroded her self-esteem and confidence, forcing her to pretend to have the confidence that had been stripped away from her. Perhaps most painfully, Brooke revealed how she was allegedly used as a pawn or buffer in her parents' conflicts, manipulated into defending behavior that she later realized was indefensible. She was expected to forgive massive blows to her career and personal life caused by her parents' nasty behavior and blatant lies. The decision to completely cut contact with both parents wasn't made lightly. Brooke emphasized that her reasons for cutting off contact with each parent were completely separate, indicating distinct issues with both Hulk and Linda. This wasn't a case of choosing sides in their divorce. This was a deliberate decision to protect herself and her new family from what she viewed as ongoing toxicity and manipulation. The extent of this estrangement becomes clear when you consider the major life milestones that Brooke chose to keep private from her parents. She married Stephen Alexi in a private ceremony in 2022 and welcomed twins Oliver Andrew and Molly Jean in January 2025, choosing to keep these momentous occasions completely secret from the people who gave her life. Stephen Alexi has become one of her strongest defenders in this family drama. When Linda publicly attacked Brooke's character and made counter-accusations, Stephen stepped forward with his own detailed Instagram post, systematically refuting Linda's claims and providing his own perspective on the family dynamics he had witnessed. In his defense of his wife, Stephen highlighted Brooke's character and her attempts to reconcile with her family, including how she had designed a home for Linda for free as a gesture of goodwill, only to have the gesture rejected. Linda Hogan's response to these devastating allegations revealed exactly the kind of toxic behavior that Brooke was trying to escape. Rather than addressing her daughter's serious claims with empathy or genuine concern, Linda denied the abuse allegations and called Brooke a narcissist just like her dad. She admitted only to spanking Brooke once and using harsh words, while making her own counter-accusations about Brooke's behavior, including claims about drunken incidents that were vehemently denied by both Brooke and her husband. This public back and forth perfectly illustrated the toxic dynamics that Brooke was trying to escape. Instead of taking responsibility or showing genuine remorse, Linda's immediate response was to attack her daughter's character and make counter-accusations, perpetuating the very patterns of behavior that may have contributed to the family's breakdown in the first place.
It's hard, and everybody was like, oh, Brooke stands by her dad and this and that, and it's like, first of all, that's who I am. I'm loyal.
The abuse allegations don't exist in isolation. They're part of a broader pattern of dysfunction that was already visible to those paying close attention. The contentious divorce between Hulk and Linda Hogan, finalized in 2009 after 24 years of marriage, was marked by bitter accusations and public feuding that undoubtedly created a toxic environment for their children. During the divorce proceedings, Linda made her own allegations of abuse against Hulk. In her 2011 memoir, Wrestling the Hulk: My Life Against the Ropes, Linda detailed incidents where she claimed Hulk tore her shirt, threw lamps, and held her down with his hands around her throat. She described living in fear and compared herself to Nicole Brown Simpson, suggesting she feared a similar fate. Hulk vehemently denied these allegations, filing a defamation lawsuit against Linda in 2011 and claiming her accusations were false and damaging to his reputation. Regardless of the truth behind these specific claims, the very public nature of these disputes created an environment where their children were caught in the crossfire of increasingly bitter accusations and counter-accusations. The reality is that Brooke and her brother Nick were raised in this atmosphere of conflict, manipulation, and alleged abuse. They were forced to choose sides, manipulated into defending parents who may have been harming them, and expected to maintain a public facade of family unity, even as their private world was allegedly falling apart.
I've been through so much stuff in my life. I was like, the one thing that feels like it's just so untouched and it's so pure, I was like, I just don't want to, let the claws of fame sink its teeth into, my...
The depth of Brooke's pain becomes even more apparent when you consider that she chose to name her daughter Molly Jean, using Hulk's middle name as her daughter's middle name. This gesture suggests that despite everything that happened, she still carried love for her father, even though she couldn't maintain a relationship with him due to the alleged abuse and toxicity. In her final statement about the situation, Brooke expressed that she hoped to break the cycle of abuse and create a positive environment for her own children. This wasn't just about healing from past trauma. This was about protecting future generations from experiencing what she claims to have endured. The courage it took for Brooke to speak out about these alleged experiences, breaking the silence about family abuse, is difficult under any circumstances, but doing so when your family is famous, when your allegations will be scrutinized and debated by millions of strangers, requires extraordinary strength and determination. But to fully understand the toxic environment that allegedly shaped Brooke's childhood, we need to examine the man at the center of it all and the decades of scandals that defined his legacy. Hulk Hogan's decades of controversies and scandals. The man who became America's hero, teaching children about training, prayers, and vitamins, has been involved in scandals so shocking and numerous that they reveal a deeply troubling character, one that may help explain the toxic family dynamics that Brooke has described. The most devastating scandal in Hulk Hogan's career erupted in July 2015, when a leaked audio revealed him using racial slurs while discussing his daughter Brooke's dating life. The remarks were made during a private conversation where he expressed discomfort about her reportedly dating a black man and included him stating that he was racist to a point. The racism wasn't limited to that single incident. Additional audio emerged where, following his son Nick's 2007 car accident, Hogan expressed concerns about being reincarnated as a black person due to karma. The level of racist thinking revealed in these recordings demonstrated a deeply ingrained worldview that would have profoundly impacted how he viewed and treated people in his daily life.
It was probably the worst day of my life when I said that 8 years ago. I had bottomed out. I was having some problems with the marriage and financially and the kids, of course, and I was kind of mad at my daughter, and there was a weird situation where I said what I said.
The immediate consequences were swift and severe. WWE terminated his contract on July 24, 2015, and removed all references to him from their website, including his Hall of Fame profile. For a man whose entire identity was built around his wrestling legacy, this erasure was devastating. But imagine the impact on his teenage daughter, who was not only dealing with the public humiliation of her father's racist remarks, but was also the specific subject of those remarks. The audio that revealed his racist comments was itself part of another major scandal that had been brewing for years. In 2007, a sex tape was secretly recorded featuring Hogan and Heather Clem, the wife of his friend Bubba the Love Sponge. When Gawker Media published portions of this tape in 2012, Hogan sued for invasion of privacy, eventually winning $140 million in damages, later settled for $31 million.
Take a deep breath. You have to make sure that you're honest because you have to be accountable. And, you address it. And at the end of the day, pray to God that those that love you and the people close to you, like your friends, and sometimes you don't even know if they're your friends, but
the revelation of his involvement in the sex tape, combined with the racist comments it contained, created a perfect storm of public relations disasters that engulfed the entire Hogan family. Brooke, who was trying to establish her own career in music and entertainment, found herself constantly defending her father's actions while dealing with the career damage that his scandals caused to her own prospects. But Hogan's problems with honesty and integrity went far beyond these major scandals. He has a well-documented history of fabricating stories about his career and personal life, including claims that he wrestled 400 days in a year due to time differences, was scouted by major bands like Metallica, and was considered for major film roles. These exaggerations and outright lies became so notorious that they were regularly mocked by fans and peers in the wrestling industry. The pattern of dishonesty wasn't limited to harmless bragging about his career. During his 1994 testimony in Vince McMahon's federal steroid trial, Hogan admitted to using anabolic steroids for nearly 14 years, 1976 to 1990, contradicting earlier public denials where he had downplayed his drug use. This testimony helped McMahon's acquittal but exposed the widespread culture of performance-enhancing drug use in wrestling and damaged Hogan's carefully cultivated image as a wholesome role model. Growing up in a household where the primary breadwinner had such a casual relationship with truth would have been profoundly destabilizing for any child. How do you learn to trust and form healthy relationships when your primary male role model consistently lies about both small and significant matters? How do you develop a sense of right and wrong when the person who's supposed to teach you those values regularly demonstrates that rules don't apply to him?
Our family's been through a lot of crap, and I will say my dad, despite, it's hard to, have all your skeletons, pulled out of your closet and just waved in front of everybody's face and humiliated the world. And
the impact of these controversies on the Hogan family was compounded by additional tragedies and scandals that seemed to follow them wherever they went. In August 2007, Brooke's younger brother Nick was involved in a severe car accident while driving under the influence, leaving his passenger John Graziano with catastrophic brain injuries requiring lifelong care. Nick served 8 months in jail, and the family ultimately settled with Graziano's family for approximately $1.5 million. But even in the midst of this tragedy, Hulk Hogan managed to make the situation worse with his public comments. He faced criticism for suggesting that Graziano's injuries were part of God's plan, displaying a shocking lack of empathy for the victim of his son's reckless behavior. These comments revealed a man who seemed incapable of taking genuine responsibility for the consequences of his family's actions.
It's just something that I pray to God every day for the strength to deal with, because it's hard. There's days where I can't even get out of bed.
The pattern of behavior that emerges from examining these controversies is deeply troubling. We see a man who consistently prioritized his own image and interests over the well-being of his family, who used his children as props in his public relations campaigns, and who created an environment where truth was secondary to maintaining power and control. This behavior extended to his business dealings as well. Hogan's use of creative control clauses to influence wrestling storylines and his refusal to lose matches became legendary in the wrestling industry. He was known for putting his own interests ahead of what was best for the wrestling promotions that employed him, and for using his influence to control narratives in ways that benefited him personally. In the context of his family life, this same pattern of manipulation and control would have been devastating. If Hogan was willing to manipulate storylines and refused to lose matches to protect his professional image, what lengths might he have gone to in order to control the narrative within his own family? Brooke's allegations of being used as a pawn and buffer in family conflicts take on additional credibility when viewed against this backdrop of his documented behavior in professional settings. The financial pressures created by Hogan's various legal troubles and scandals would have also contributed to the stress and dysfunction within the household. The contentious divorce from Linda in 2009 resulted in her receiving 70% of their liquid assets, 40% ownership of his companies, and a $3 million property settlement. Hogan later admitted that the divorce brought him to the brink of bankruptcy.
I was at the lowest point of my life. My personal life was destroyed. I was to the point where I wanted to kill myself.
The revelation that Hogan was suicidal during this period provides crucial context for understanding the household environment during Brooke's formative years. Living with a parent who is dealing with such severe mental health crises, while simultaneously managing multiple public scandals and legal battles, would have created an atmosphere of constant tension and unpredictability. Perhaps most damaging to his children was Hogan's apparent inability to take genuine responsibility for his actions. In his various public apologies and explanations for his behavior, he consistently shifted blame to external circumstances, his divorce, financial problems, his upbringing in a rough neighborhood, rather than acknowledging the fundamental character flaws that led to his repeated poor choices. This pattern of blame shifting and victim playing would have been particularly harmful to his children, who were forced to witness their father repeatedly escape consequences for his actions while they dealt with the fallout in their own lives. Brooke's career in music and entertainment was undoubtedly impacted by her father's scandals, yet she was expected to continue supporting him publicly while privately dealing with the damage his behavior caused to her own prospects. Understanding Hulk Hogan's pattern of controversial behavior helps explain not just the toxic environment Brooke grew up in, but also sets the stage for the final tragedy of this family saga, a story that would end in death and missed opportunities for redemption. Hulk Hogan's last days and the family he left behind. The final chapter of Hulk Hogan's life reveals a man whose body was failing as dramatically as his family relationships had collapsed. By 2023, the wrestling legend who had once seemed invincible was facing the reality of decades of physical punishment, multiple surgeries, and deteriorating health that would ultimately lead to his death on July 24, 2025, at the age of 71 due to cardiac arrest. The physical toll of Hogan's wrestling career had been mounting for years. In conversations with Brooke during better times, the extent of his medical struggles became clear. The family had counted how many surgeries he had undergone in the last 10 years, reaching approximately 25 procedures. These included both shoulders being scoped, his entire bicep and bursa sac repair, both knees replaced multiple times, hip surgeries, and elbow procedures. One particularly troubling incident occurred when Hogan developed MRSA, a dangerous antibiotic-resistant infection, following a shoulder surgery, requiring the procedure to be completely redone and putting his life at risk. The pattern of surgeries, complications, and lengthy recovery periods painted a picture of a man whose body was breaking down from decades of abuse in the wrestling ring.
We counted how many surgeries he's had in the last 10 years, and I think we're at 25.
Oh, God.
So he's had both shoulders scoped, and he had his whole bicep and his bursa sac and his everything tied up in his shoulder.
Despite these health challenges, Hogan continued to maintain his rigorous workout routine almost until the end. Reports from his final months indicate that he was still working out 2 hours in the gym every day, demonstrating the same obsessive dedication to physical fitness that had defined his entire adult life. This commitment to staying in shape, even as his body was failing him, reflected both his incredible discipline and perhaps his inability to accept the reality of aging and mortality. The last conversation between Brooke and her father took place in September 2023, just 2 weeks before Hulk's wedding to his third wife, Sky Daly. During this phone call, Brooke told her father she loved him and urged him to slow down and take care of his health, expressing genuine concern for his well-being.
My first call was to Brooke, and Daddy's little girl, unconditional love also, so I had to explain it to her. She goes, Dad, I love you. You made a huge mistake, but do what's right.
Hulk apologized during this conversation, though the specifics of what he was apologizing for remain unclear. This final exchange between father and daughter represents one of the most poignant moments in the entire Hogan family saga. Despite years of alleged abuse, manipulation, and painful estrangement, Brooke's first instinct was still to express love and concern for her father's health. The fact that she urged him to slow down and take care of himself shows that beneath all the pain and dysfunction, she still cared deeply about his well-being. Hulk's response to this final conversation revealed both his capacity for remorse and his limitations as a father and human being. While he did offer an apology, reports suggest that he continued to insist that any future relationship would have to be on his terms, a condition that demonstrated his inability to fully understand or take responsibility for the damage he had caused to his relationship with his daughter. The news of Hulk's death reached Brooke in a way that perfectly encapsulated the family's dysfunction. She learned of her father's passing when her brother Nick texted her husband Stephen to inform inform him of the death. Even in death, there wasn't direct communication. Between father and daughter, the news had to be filtered through intermediaries, highlighting how completely the family bonds had been severed. Brooke's response to her father's death, as described by her husband and close friends, revealed the complex mixture of grief, relief, and unresolved pain that characterized her relationship with him. Ashley Cora, a close friend, posted on social media that Brooke loved him deeply, was fiercely loyal, and only ever wanted him to be peaceful, happy, and surrounded by people who valued him for who he really was. This statement reveals the tragedy at the heart of the Hogan family story. Despite the alleged abuse, manipulation, and years of estrangement, Brooke still loved her father. She wanted him to be happy and peaceful, but she couldn't be part of his life because doing so came at too great a cost to her own well-being and that of her children.
If anybody should have disowned me, it should have been her. You know, she should have been the one. She should have been the one to throw me out like the trash, but instead she showed me more love than anybody.
The relationship between Brooke and her brother Nick during this period provides another lens through which to understand the family dynamics in Hulk's final years. Unlike his sister, Nick maintained some level of contact with both parents throughout their various conflicts. Sources close to the family describe Nick as being caught in the middle and trying to stay out of it as much as possible to make sure he's in good graces with as many people as he can be. Nick's own journey through trauma and recovery may have given him a different perspective on family dysfunction and forgiveness. His experience in solitary confinement following his 2007 car accident had taught him valuable lessons about identity and ego that seemed to inform his approach to family relationships in later years.
I really learned a lot about unattaching myself from my ego. I realized that sitting in solitary confinement, I was still the same person without, you know, the house that I lived in or the car that I drove or the clothes that I put on. I realized that I'm still the same person.
The fact that Nick was the one who informed Brooke's husband about their father's death suggests that she hadn't completely cut off communication with her brother, even if she couldn't maintain relationships with her parents. This dynamic created additional complexity for the family, as Nick found himself serving as a bridge between his estranged sister and their parents, while trying to maintain his own emotional equilibrium. In the months leading up to his death, Hulk had reportedly expressed confusion about why Brooke had distanced herself from him, claiming not to understand the reasons for their estrangement. This apparent lack of insight into his own behavior suggests that even in his final days, he struggled to take full responsibility for the pain he had caused. His family, the geographical proximity that Brooke and her husband had created by moving to Florida, reportedly with the intention of being available to help care for Hulk as his health declined, adds another layer of tragedy to the story. Despite being physically close to her father in his final months, the emotional distance between them remained insurmountable. The choice to name her daughter Molly Jean, using Hulk's middle name, represents perhaps the most complex gesture in this entire saga. This decision, made despite their complete estrangement, suggests that Brooke's feelings toward her father were far more nuanced than simple rejection or hatred. She honored the man he might have been, or perhaps the father she remembered from her earliest childhood, while protecting her children from the man he had become. As Hulk Hogan's life came to an end, surrounded by his third wife and whatever friends remained loyal to him, the absence of his daughter and grandchildren represented the ultimate consequence of a lifetime of choices that prioritized image over relationships and control over genuine connection. His death marked not just the end of a wrestling legend's life, but the final chapter in a family tragedy that serves as a powerful reminder that fame, fortune, and physical strength cannot compensate for failures of character and the inability to truly love and protect those closest to us. Thanks for watching. If you had a good time, keep the adventure alive by clicking on one of the suggested videos on your screen right now for more amazing content.